This is the second video on creating the ratchet. The first video covered how to go about getting the fully constrained sketch that you need to do this. This is the second video. It's going to show you how to do the extrusion and then how to do these other 3D features which make it look really nice and finished. All right, if we read just here in the description just a little bit, it's going to tell you that when the sketch is complete, extrude to a thickness of 0.625 inches, also known as 5/8 of an inch. The rounded shape is going to be created by using the Fillet tool, and in this picture of the Fillet tool menu, it shows you that your depth for the fillet is going to be 0.25 inches or 1/4 inch. So let's go ahead and do those two steps right now. So let's extrude, select our body. Now we could really use any direction we want. Sometimes it matters depending on what steps and features are going to be used after, but for our purposes, it really doesn't matter at all. Make sure you have the correct distance. And when all that looks good, go ahead and hit OK. Now you can see it's a pretty rough square shape that we have here. So let's get those corners to go from square to smooth with the Fillet tool. So under the 3D model toolbar in the modify area, there's the Fillet tool. Put your number in that tool first is how I like to do it. And then you're going to select this series of edges all the way around. You're going to see, you start getting a preview of what that would look like. So the fillet essentially creates this really nice rounded effect. And that is definitely what we're going for. I mean, if you think of what a ratchet is, it's a hand tool that, some people end up putting a lot of force on to, turn nuts and bolts and things like that. So a nice smooth profile would make that tool much more comfortable than how it looked just a little while ago. So I'm kind of double checking here with my given sketches, and it looks identical. So let's go ahead and go with that. All right, so this looks really good. I need to engrave my name on here next, so let's go ahead and do that. So let's see what it says here. So be sure to put your name on the handle instead of the Dobrins, and then and be sure to center the text box on the flat surface before you extrude to a depth of 50 thousandths. So let's go ahead and do that. So this is still flat, whereas everything else around it has been rounded. So I can just really simply do a sketch right on that face right there. Since I know I have to fully constrain the text box on there, or it's a good idea to, we're going to, let's just project it. Let's keep it really simple. So all the edges of that flat face I now can use in the geometry. Now, one thing I do recommend is at least take a few of these arcs and make them construction, but I'm going to show you what happens if I don't, because I can come back and do it later. The text box is one of the sketch tools here. You kind of just drag a box about how big you want it, type in what you need to type in, but let's max out that text before I do so. I'm just going to replicate the given example, but hopefully you are putting in your name or something fun and interesting in there. Now you can see here my text is left justified and it's at the top. So what I can actually do is open that back up, and you can see I have some options here. I can go center justification, middle justification, and that's going to help me out here. So now it's right in the middle of my box. I always find it helpful to make my box just slightly larger than the text itself. I just find that easier to handle, to work with. Now, let's see, if I put a construction line just right through the middle of this, I can use that to get this text box fully constrained top to bottom. And I could probably do the same thing if I could find a nice middle point here. But let's do one thing at a time. So I'm going to use this symmetry. Oh, not that line. The symmetry constraint, and select the two sides of the box and then that little center line. And isn't that pretty? All right, let's see what else. I think I want to pull this text box to the left just a little bit. And I'm going to use the constraint tool and just tell that edge it needs to be on that point since it's a nice, easy point. And then I can give this box some size. Let's see what makes sense here. 2.65 looks perfect. And as far as height goes, 0.3. What if I do 0.25, knowing that the text is 0.24? I think that's perfect. And it gets me fully constrained, which is always a good idea. All right, I can finish the sketch, or I can go straight into the extrude button. One thing I do want to point out is you could use the emboss tool. The emboss tool is a really nice thing to use, especially if the face is curved. But seeing how this face is not curved, the extrusion will work just as well. Now, you remember when I said it would be a good idea to make some of these yellow projected arcs to be construction? Well, this is why. Because it sees the enclosed profile, it wants me to extrude that whole face. So instead of doing that, I'm going to come back and I'm just going to choose, let's just say 2 of these. I could choose 1 of these. Go back to your sketch tab and tell them they need to be construction. Now, since I have a profile that's not completely enclosed, it wouldn't let me extrude it, but now I can focus on just the text. All right, now let's see in my menu here, I need to go 50 thousandths per the instructions, or 0.05 inches. And we know that's going to be a cut because I'm removing material. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, it doesn't say anything about taper, so I'm going to leave that alone. And I get my nice text in there. Perfect. Now there's just a couple steps left here. We need to assign some material. Per the instructions, I need to assign the material steel alloy, and as well an appearance of chrome polished, which is actually why this looks really metallic and bright and smooth. And then lastly, we're going to change the visual style to shaded, and you're going to see that does make a big difference. I'm actually going to do that before the material. So to do that, we're going to go to the View toolbar. Visual styles right here in the middle, and you can see there's a whole bunch. This is a great time to kind of see what those are all about and play with them, but shaded is the second one on the list. As you can see, what it does, it takes away all those lines and just makes it look really nice and smooth. Now it's a very bland object we have here. So if I go to Tools and go to Material, watch what happens when we change the material to the given one, which was steel. I'm going to use the search box for that, and it was steel alloy. If I click this button on the right, you see it gives me a preview. If I click that button on the right, it sends it right in there. And now my ratchet is a steel alloy, which is accurate. But it's not really bright and shiny, so we're going to assign an appearance of chrome. Now I can go down, C's near the top of this box. So here is chrome polished. Now, getting this to apply sometimes is a little tricky. See, that actually didn't make it apply. So the way I find it easiest is I select the body and then apply. And you can see there, once I have the body selected, it will apply without a problem. Now it is chrome polished. And as you can see here, the light of our little build room here, it reflects in different ways, and the light kind of bounces off the chrome-like effect here. But that is essentially how you create the ratchet in 2 videos. I hope you found this helpful, and always tune in if you want to learn how to do some things on CAD.